You know what? We're celebrating our first episode of Season 2.
Yes, and we're going to start off this year with a very accomplished fine artist and potter.
You know, when it comes to creative talent, our guest, Winifred Potenza, is about as creative as they get.
Yes, she has literally created virtually every day of her life for over 50 years, and there's not too many people that can say that.
They certainly can't. That's pretty amazing. Hi, everyone. Hope you're having a wonderfully creative week and a happy new year to you all. I'm Rod Jones, and as you know, we celebrate what people love to do creatively by giving them a voice, and we share with you how you can live a more creative life.
Yes, and I'm Inci Jones. Welcome to Thought Road Podcast. We invite you to subscribe wherever you listen, and our episodes are always absolutely free to listen to. You can go to thoughtroadpodcast.com and listen to current and past episodes directly on the website, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day.
It's easy.
Yeah.
Okay, so why don't you tell us in better detail who our guest is going to be today?
Okay, our guest today is Winifred Potenza, an internationally known artist that has been featured in many museums around the world, and she's well known for her Hearts of the World series of paintings.
Yeah, they're pretty incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing how this is the first episode of Season 2, kicking off 2022, I know we'll have some very exciting things in store for our listeners this year. In fact, I know who some of those people are going to be.
Yes, you do. And it's going to be focusing on sharing with everyone how they can think and be and live more creatively with their own passions.
Well, you know, Inci, I'm excited about this coming year and all the interesting things we will be sharing about creativity. And don't forget, we'll have some fascinating guests that will share their own unique stories. But before we start, it's time for us to hear your quote.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Rod, I'm really excited about 2022. It's going to be a great year to explore living creatively.
Well, I couldn't agree more.
Okay. So here is the quote. And it is New Year's Day, a fresh start, a new chapter in life waiting to be written, new questions to be asked, embraced, and loved, answers to be discovered and then lived in this transformative year of delight and self-discovery. Today, carve out a quiet interlude for yourself in which to dream, pen in hand. Only dreams give birth to change. And that is by Sarah Ban Breathnock.
I think she's a famous writer, right?
Yes, I think she's got a few books out there.
Yeah, and that is a heck of a quote.
It is. I think that's something to take to heart. And I like the carve out time in your day to take pen in hand and make something happen creatively.
Well, anytime you sit and spend some time by yourself, especially, and sit down and just think creatively or just think about your life and all the cool, positive, wonderful things you want to accomplish this year, this quote really resonates well. I think it hits all the highlights. It's a pretty special quote now that I think about it.
It is. And, you know, and for me, when I read that quote and I am thinking about it, it is really about digging deep inside of your heart, inside of your soul, inside of your mind, and really letting that come out instead of squashing it down with all the daily grind and what you need to remember, what you need to do. It's just like jump in there and do it, and don't think about all that other stuff because it will take care of itself.
Yeah, and there's no better time of the year to start that process than today.
Right on.
Yeah.
So, okay, Rod, now it's going to be time for your Rod's motivational moments.
Well, seeing how we're beginning this new year, if you haven't already done so, this is a great time for you to start a journal. It will be your companion for the year and the perfect place for you to keep your thoughts and your ideas and maybe some illustrations. I know many of you know that we offer a journal on our website, but you can pick up a journal almost anywhere. They're available at office, stationery stores, You probably can even find them at your favorite grocery store. But whatever you do, start a journal. It's a great place to document your creativity and, of course, all the things that make you happy. That's what I like about it.
That way you can highlight the happy things. Don't go in there and just highlight of all the things that are going wrong, but write down the things that make you happy and the things that went right for you, even if it was just that you put on your favorite shoes for the day, if that's the only thing that happened to you that was good.
Well, journals are a way to set milestones or set the stage for the things that you want to create and the things that you've already created.
So true.
They're really a perfect place to document your feelings.
So true. But, you were mentioning about going to this store or that store. I don't know. I like to shop online, and I would just go to the website and order because I don't have to deal with parking and people and all this other stuff just to get a journal. And secondly, I'll save on gas. So why not?
Well, I knew you'd get that in there, but you did it really well. I mean, that's a valid point. It is expensive to run around.
Well, I mean, you look at the gas prices and I'm like shocked. I'm sorry, especially in California.
Yeah.
And maybe in other parts of the nation, it's not so bad, but I know.
Well, the one thing I particularly like about our journal is it's not obtrusive, and I can be very private when I write. I wish it had a lock on it.
Up, Rod. Yeah, I think you need one of those old diaries that the girls would use a little key on, so it's like really top secret.
Yes, I don't want anybody to look at it. Mostly, I don't want people to see my little illustrations that I make because I am definitely not a character drawer. But I do.
No, I like your characters.
Well, I kind of document things that I'm thinking about by making illustrations. And the cool thing about our journal, and I think you do this in other journals too, there is a page specifically opposite of everything where you write your content, your thoughts, your ideas, whatever.
Lined,
and you can sit there, make little illustrations or give yourself some ideas of something you want to do. Or I often draw the dessert I'm hoping to have. I'll make a little cake.
You'll get a banana. That's your dessert.
Yes, I make illustrations
for you.
Anyway, journal. And this is the perfect time of
wherever
the year
and whatever
to
you
start.
use.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, I also wanted to say something about 2021. And as we say goodbye to it, there's a lot going on around the world. And I think everyone's thinking, good riddance. We can't wait for 2021 to go bye-bye. And I think we're all waiting for a new year, new, fresh kind of take on what's been going on.
Well, like they say, don't look in the rearview mirror when it comes to last year. I'm sure there were some good things that happened for people.
Right, but in this new year...
it was kind of good for us, the podcast and all that.
That's when we started the podcast.
Yeah,
for sure.
That aspect of it was really positive for us. But, there's a lot of trauma going on in the world, a lot of people not living as their best life probably for a lot of reasons. So,
well, but in this new year, we can set new goals and have a time to celebrate what your future could be. Don't dwell on the past. Yes, things go wrong and you might have very wonderful things happen, but you need to kind of keep on the road ahead and keep looking forward and don't look back.
Right. 2022 is the year of opportunity.
Right on. And
I didn't read that somewhere. I just think it is.
I think it is too. I think after all of the last couple of years, it's like, I think there's going to be a new surgence of really cool, positive things coming up and opportunities for everyone, everywhere.
And start your journal because then you can forecast those great opportunities and you can celebrate your successes.
True.
Well, it's my guess that it's probably time to bring on our guest.
Yes, and you're absolutely right, Rod.
I thought so. Potenza, welcome to the Thought Row podcast. And I know for Inci and I, it's always a pleasure to have an artist with such a successful international reputation.
Yes. Hi, Potenza. And yes, I might add, you are one of those artists that creates virtually every single day, and you have been for years.
Well, thank you. And thank you for the invitation. It's wonderful to be here. Thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome.
We're happy to have you.
Yes. Well, before we start the interview, we always ask our guests what they had for breakfast. So what did you have for breakfast?
Well, what I have had for the last 15 years, nothing. I don't eat breakfast.
Okay. That's good. That's good. Some people are not morning eaters, so I get it.
Yeah, they really aren't. So do you have a hearty lunch at that point?
It's my main meal. Is
okay.
lunchtime.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I cook a lot. I love to cook.
Oh, good for you.
Well, main meal at lunchtime.
It's a very smart way to eat.
Well, I spent my summers on my grandparents' farm, and was the biggest meal of the day.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So, you've had a very long, successful career, like we mentioned, and I'd like to know, Angie would like to know, where did you grow up?
Oh, well, I grew up in Scotland at my first 16 years and 2 more years in London, and then I moved to New York.
That's a big
change. That's 50 years ago.
So you're originally from Scotland then?
Yes, I was raised in Scotland.
I don't pick up the accent. Well, I kind of do.
Slightly, I do hear it. I do hear it. It sounds lovely.
The more I talk.
Yeah,
the more I talk, the more I talk.
There you go.
It's such a beautiful accent to have.
It's beautiful. So that's such a big change for you to go from Scotland to New York. How was that as a young woman?
Well, I was filled with the adventurous spirit. So to me, it was just an adventure. But as strangely as this may seem, when I was 8 years old, I said, I'm going to America.
Oh, you knew.
So, and I was in the Highlands of Scotland. Where that came from, I don't know. But anyway, I've been here 50 years more.
So mainly your whole life, basically. Yeah. Well,
yes, correct. And whenever I do go back, they take me 100% for American. They don't hear Yeah,
because it's not that. It's very slight now. You've toned it down over the years.
No, I didn't tone down. It just toned down by itself.
Right, right.
This is the environment in which I'm living. So.
Right, true. Your ears get used to not having the accent.
Yes.
Yeah. But when did you discover that you wanted to live your life creating artwork?
I tell this story all the time because that's what happened.
Yeah.
I was married at 20 and I had some exploratory surgery. And my husband, for some reason, brought me home a Winsor Newton painting set. And I actually looked at the brushes and said, oh my goodness, I'm an artist. Not that I had ever drawn or painted in my life before, but that was the beginning of a long adventure.
Wow.
That's pretty amazing.
That's a really interesting little story, though.
Good old Winsor Newton.
Yeah.
Yes. And in those days, it was quite expensive. And I thought it was the gift from God. It was such an interesting gift.
Well, especially because that was one of those kits that had several colors. If I remember, it had like a palette with it. If not, some brushes.
Everything.
Yeah, you were in business overnight.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
I love it. I love it.
I was curious, Potenza, do you have a favorite childhood memory?
Yeah, I do. I do have a favorite childhood memory. And please, it's a little blurry. But I remember my father bought a car. Now, this is in Scotland. This car was a jalopy. And I was to sit in the back because the exhaust was tied up with string. So I had to tell him when the string burned off.
Oh, gosh.
I know.
Wow.
And then I looked up and we were on a cliff, and to the side of the cliff were these thousands of daffodils, just thousands of daffodils. And that stayed with me. That is a memory that has stayed with me all these years. So it's definitely one of my favorite childhood memories.
Well, that's a very nice memory.
That's such a good memory.
It's really pleasant.
It's so fun and quirky, though, because, how many times would you be tying parts of the car and then asking your child to monitor it for you? I think that's really a funny thing.
Well, it tells you how many years ago it was. And we were very, very poor. That car didn't last long.
Yeah, it didn't
He
sound
must have-
like it.
yeah.
Well,
It was the only car we had in my entire childhood.
Oh, wow.
well, it got you by the daffodils.
Yeah, it did.
It was so beautiful.
Oh, I bet. I can imagine
What a neat
that.
memory, though.
Yeah, it
That's
is a
really
great
cool.
memory.
Really cool. You know, I want to ask you about when you talked about the first Winsor Newton painting set that you got, and I meant to ask this earlier. What was the first thing you painted when you did that?
I was actually going to say that. My first painting was a face.
Okay.
And for many years, I painted masks, thousands of masks and faces in row after row after row. And I called that whole series Conversation.
Oh, wow.
So, yes, my first painting was a face.
A face. And you were very happy with it then. It wasn't like a new kind of discovery, frustration kind of thing. It was more like, oh, I like this. This is conveying
No,
what
I thought
I'm
it was
thinking.
genius.
Yeah. Okay.
I thought it was genius. Oh, my goodness, this is great. You can do anything.
Very cool.
So-
Well, that's also a very complicated thing to start with, is painting
It
the
is.
face
It
image.
really
I mean,
is.
most people shy away from that. They'll paint
A
a
landscape.
tree.
Yeah,
landscape.
a landscape.
A tree and some shrub and a mountain.
Right. Because that's easier.
Well, when I
Yeah.
did eventually go to art school, I took portraiture
Okay.
at the Art Students League in New York City.
Oh, very good.
And yeah, but I never was going to be a portrait artist, although I did some for my friends.
Uh-huh.
But I was never going to be a portrait artist. I wanted the structure. I wanted to know how I can paint beyond the mask. So that was
Okay.
my struggle and discovery.
Okay. Well, that's going to lead me to my question, because it seems like the best way
But
for
wait,
us to get to know you. What?
I
honey?
have one question.
Okay.
Though. What the Art Student League is famous, and,
Right, it is.
How did you decide to go there or enroll there? I should say.
Because I was living in New York.
Okay.
It was
And why not? Right.
Right, and
and
why
why,
not?
exactly.
Why not? Totally.
It's a great place to get an education when it comes to art, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, actually, the best education I had was I was going to college part time,
Hmm.
and they had an art department with the greatest teachers, and that's really when I thrived.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I don't feel as though I thrived I probably shouldn't say that, under the Art Students League as well as I did in College of Mount St. Vincent in Riverdale, New York.
Well, you know, everyone has a different style of learning, and sometimes it just doesn't fit in with your style and your personality.
Yeah, where you're most comfortable.
Yeah, where you're most comfy. So I
and
don't.
what your surroundings
I don't know
are,
that
and
that's bad.
the fellow students and the teachers, it all impacts. that.
Correct.
Yeah.
The community.
Yeah.
Also, in college, I was free to do whatever I wanted,
Hmm.
and I didn't have to follow the
rules.
rigors. Yeah. So, no, it was a great experience.
Well, sounds good. Go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about your life creating art, and your creative journey. Like how tell us about it, because I know you have a lot to tell.
But my creative journey.
Yeah,
We know it started with Winsor Newton.
I know it started there. Yeah, so that's
Yes,
a good
it did.
start. Thank you, Winsor
So-
Newton.
Yeah.
See, I'm hesitant here because starting at the beginning
Hmm.
and going straight to when I decided that I wanted to make a difference with art is a whole lifetime. Well, not
Right.
really, but so I don't really, it's blurry. That is blurry. I know exactly when I decided I needed to do something different. And I had already had shows. I had
Mhm.
several shows
Hmm.
in New York City. In fact, my first show was the Metropolitan Museum of Art.
Oh, how
But it was a
wonderful.
community show, but it was still a show. It was my first show. So, but I'm just going to jump ahead. Is that
Sure.
okay?
Yeah, sure.
Whatever you
So-
want to say.
So I jump ahead. I've had several shows in New York. I think I might have told you, or might have said that I spent 25 years in New York and the last 25 years or 30 years here in California.
Hmm.
But I had several shows in New York, and one day there was a military event that took place. And I was driving in New York City, and it actually brought me to tears. And I had to pull over. And as I'm pulling over, I said, can one person make a difference? How do you make a difference? Can one person make a difference? And then I thought, well, what can I do to make a difference? Well, what do I do? Well, I paint. And I decided to paint a 360-foot painting dedicated to a world at peace. And that is actually an artist's theme, is called the Peaceable Realm, or the Peaceable Kingdom. I called mine the Peaceable Realm. Mm-hmm. And where the lion lies down with the lamb, and a child shall lead them. But I wasn't thinking of the biblical terms. I was thinking that there were many paintings with that. So I decided to do a 360-foot version of modern, and it was a lot of abstraction, but all recognizable images. Mm-hmm. And that painting was actually invited to, well, they built a wall for it in Washington. They built a wall for it in the UN in New York. I was invited to the Philippines, where and this was obviously a few years ago, mm-hmm. and where I was the guest of President Aquino at the time. And it was invited to Texas, and it showed in Texas. And I had many invitations to continue with that. And so, but it didn't stop there. So with my intention that perhaps one person can make a difference.
Well, it sounds like that painting did make quite a difference.
Yes, I think so.
That's a major piece of work.
Now,
well, when they build, yeah. Oh God, people were so good. People are so good. They built a wall in all these places to hang this painting. I have so many stories about them, funny stories. Mm-hmm. But people actually donated building a wall outside the United Nations in New York City for a 360-foot painting. Pretty amazing.
That is amazing.
Now, was that done in sections, or how was that constructed?
It was a 300-foot, which the canvas company donated, and we added an extra 60 feet. So it was in two pieces, really.
Amazing.
My goodness. Yeah. How long did it take you to produce that painting?
Well, I started it in New York, mm-hmm. the project. I started it in New York, but then I brought it to Palo Alto, where PG&E donated a building to me to build it. I think altogether, I'm talking working daily, mm-hmm. And I had a baby attached to me.
Oh, so my goodness.
My son was attached to me. So it took about maybe 2 years.
That's quite a long time, but it's such a huge painting.
Yeah, but considering the size of that painting, that's actually very long.
Really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was brilliant. What can I say?
Yeah, it sounds like it. I'm fascinated by the fact that you create art every single day.
Yes.
And then you've shifted some of your energy. I want to get back to your art, but I also want to tell our listeners and address the fact that you've shifted some of your energy to pottery.
Which is gorgeous, by the way.
Yeah, it's incredible. Tell us about why you moved in that direction.
So about 7 years ago, I moved to a converted barn mm-hmm. in a little town, Northern California, and I became what I call a hermit, with a little laughter after it. Mm-hmm. And I really wanted to escape all the logistics of the hearts of the world and the peaceable realm, and devote myself to what I really want to do, and that is to create. And even during all of the presentations all over the world, even doing that, I still worked almost every day. But here I am, alone, by myself, and happily doing what I want. That's rich. That is total wealth is to be able to do what I want. And so about 3 years ago, I quit painting. Well, I've done a couple here and there, but for a particular reason. But I quit painting after 50 some odd years. I quit painting and I went into pottery. And now it's more sculptural than pottery. In fact, I call my pieces non-vessels because when I was doing vases, just didn't seem to fit. And I thought, I'll put a lid on these. And now I call them non-vessels. So does that answer your question?
Yes,
yeah,
it
that's
does.
fascinating.
I love it.
And we're going to have links so people can see your
they
pottery
can see your
at the end of
pottery
the show.
and check it out.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You know, can you tell us?
You know,
go ahead.
Can I
Yes,
cut in here?
absolutely.
So, I'm often asked why pottery. I'd never done pottery. Maybe 10 years ago, I'd done a little something, but I had never really done pottery and knew nothing about it and didn't have a kiln. I mean, but what happened was I was in Okinawa. My son is married to a woman from Okinawa. And I was visiting Okinawa, and what they have there, so wonderful. I don't think they have them in America, but we should. I wanted to start one. They have pottery villages. They're cottages and acres of land where people live and do their pottery, all in this little village. It's not a little village, but spread out village. And I was so impressed by that. But even at that point, I didn't know that was something that my future. What happened was I started watching documentaries with my daughter-in-law, and they were in New Jersey. And when I came back, I came from the airport to Creative Ceramics in Santa Rosa and bought my first clay on their advice, what clay I needed. And I was up and running the following morning. I was so involved in mastering this clay. And the truth is I will never master it, but I do what I do. And every time I start a new thing, it's about mastery again. So, but I'm so excited. I get up in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'm saying, okay, what next? How can I make this beautiful? How can I create something that I think has beauty and never been done before? Kind of attitude, not really, but kind of attitude. And I love my life. I'm so fortunate.
You know, the thing about pottery is it's so tactile.
It is.
You really get into it because you and the clay are connected together, and then you throw a little bit of your creative thinking into it, and it's amazing what you can turn out. You're always exploring, and I think you're always inventing, never exactly knowing what's going to happen. And then I guess the more proficient you become, the better odds you have of turning out something that you suspect is going to be incredible.
Well, sometimes proficiency doesn't happen. What happens is that the clay has a mind of its own. So, but I play with that. So it's, but I like what you said about it being tactile. I think that's the major change from painting. Painting is three-dimensional design, perhaps, on a two-dimensional surface. But you're working with clay, you're working three-dimensionally, and it is definitely a different mindset.
And 360 degrees.
Yes.
If you're turning
yes.
it.
True. Very true.
Yes. I was working on a piece that was 22 inches high, which is the highest my kiln will take. And I really want, even though I've done columns or totems, I've had to do it two at a time and then cement them together because it won't fit, obviously, my kiln. So I was working on a piece that was the highest that I could get into my kiln. And I've been working on it for quite some time. And the other night it just collapsed.
No.
So I have to start again. So, but that's clay, and it's always something new and always something to learn about balance. Because if you don't balance it, it's going to break. It's not going to work. So you have to learn about what you said about the 360 degree. If you don't balance it, it's not going to work.
It's just like sculpture, right?
Yeah.
For sure. I call myself a sculptor now.
Yeah,
so.
you could never
really
create.
are, yeah.
You could never create David without balancing that guy
Yes.
out.
Yes, of course. Otherwise, it would just fall over.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Anyway, that's what did, and that's what it did, and I am thrilled that happened because I wasn't happy with it anyway. I knew I could do better.
Well, that's good.
So when it broke, even though you say, well, I put in a week, 2 weeks of work,
Right.
and it fell, it collapsed. I was freaking happy because I knew it wasn't it. I knew it wasn't what it could be.
It wasn't
so-
meant to be.
Yeah, absolutely, no question.
That's kind of cool
So
that you.
I get over it in 5 seconds. The first 5 seconds, I'm cursing. Okay, I curse. The first 5 seconds, I'm cursing. And after that, I'm so happy that happened. So it better be as good as I think I can make it. So
We're going to be anxious to see it.
Yeah.
me too.
Yeah, you'll have to send us or post it on your social media so everyone can see your creation.
I hope it happens.
Yes. Okay, so now I'm going to ask you the question about Hearts of the World project.
Yeah.
Why and when did you start it?
Well, I actually started that in Santa Rosa.
Mm-hmm.
Here I am painting a 360-foot painting dedicated to a world at peace. I know, we're jaded,
Mm-hmm.
but dedicated to a world at peace. And one night in the winter, cold, wet, dark, it was raining, and I get a knock at my door. And there's this woman this is how long ago, well, it took me 25 years to finish the project. So this is how long ago. Someone came to my door asking for food and clothing for the Kurds.
Mm.
And I thought, oh my gosh, this American heart. I'm sitting watching television. She's committed. And I thought, this American heart. And anyway, I started with this American heart, which I did 3 versions of before I was happy.
Mm-hmm.
But then I don't remember the chronology, but Rajiv Gandhi had written to me about my work, and it was so inspiring. And he died, assassinated. And I thought, I'm going to do this Heart of India. And then I thought, if I'm done 2, I may as well do the whole world. And so I take the flag of each country and I turn it into a heart. The flag is a national symbol.
Mm-hmm.
And I turn it, most people can recognize their flag when I turn it into a heart, which is an internationally understood symbol.
Right.
So I did a heart for each country in the world, and I have made presentations, many to the United Nations. I was a guest of a private audience with the Dalai Lama, where I presented him with the Heart of Tibet. I was a guest of Archbishop Tutu in South Africa, which was an amazing
Oh, I can imagine.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
I have so many stories about just being in South Africa, or just going to just meeting 45 minutes sitting with the Dalai Lama. There's so many stories to tell, and I'm so blessed with them. And they are reminders of just keep going, just keep doing what you do, keep being creative. Although. So go ahead.
I was just going to say, I've had the opportunity to see on your on Instagram many of the hearts of the world that you've created.
Oh, yes, that you've posted.
Yeah,
yes.
that you've posted. And I can't believe how versatile you are in creating those. But I think what's really interesting to me, and when people have the opportunity to check them out, is how you managed to capture something very unique and very intimate about each of these countries. You don't necessarily see it at first, But if you take a look at it for a few minutes, and if you've traveled at all or if you understand anything about the culture of these various countries, you've captured something really special in them. I'm kind of amazed how you managed to achieve that. You must have, I guess, have you done some research when you started creating those?
Oh, well, of course, because I wanted to get my heart involved. So of course, there wasn't any country that I didn't do a little research on. But the most important, see, if you were to say, look at this heart of France, I can't do the Eiffel Tower. This is not about landmarks. It's about taking their flag and turning it into a heart. And there are many times, for instance, this heart of Germany, you will see, they call that the country, the mother of abstract expressionism. Well, you can see I use that a little, but I still use the flag as the foundation of the heart.
I think your German one is especially describes what I'm saying, because
Cool.
I see a little bit of, what is it, Bauhaus in there, maybe a little bit in there, but you'd have to know it. I mean, you'd look at it, your first impression of it is it's remarkably beautiful to look at. It has a lot of depth to it, but there's also a story built into it. I think you achieved something really special there, Potenza. I don't think any other artist. I don't think any other artist has come anywhere near achieving that goal.
Yeah, no.
Oh,
very original.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
And that was not a paid endorsement.
I thought you were going to say that I was paid to do it. No, not at all.
It wasn't a paid endorsement by us. We really love those things.
Be, because it's worth its weight in gold. So
yeah, there you go.
Thank you. I appreciate it very much. You know, you as an artist, you work alone, and validation isn't always there. And that was validation, and I thank you for it.
Well, you're very welcome, and it was very sincere.
Yeah.
Yes, I know.
As a creative person myself, I know the effort that went into it, but I also know what must go on in your subconscious thinking in order to portray them.
And in your heart, too.
In your heart.
Yeah,
well, the
heart
is it's all about that, right? Yeah.
Well, you know, if you take away politics, we're all the same in any country.
Exactly right. You are so right.
100%.
Yeah. Agree.
Doesn't that just give you goosebumps just to think of humanity? I know it does for me.
Absolutely. So. Absolutely. Because, you know, we're all the same, really, everywhere.
Completely. There's no question.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah, we have different upbringing and different cultures, which is lovely.
Well, that's what makes us interesting.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So.
You know, I'm looking at my questions here, and the one thing that I'm curious about is, have you ever wanted to pursue anything else other than being an artist in life, or was there other kind of things that popped up during your life?
Well, I think when I was 5, I wanted to be a ballerina. No,
there you go.
I mean, every girl wants to be a ballerina when they're 5.
Yes, I think so.
No. When I knew I was an artist, I was blessed. I knew that this was a gift that would last a lifetime. And I feel as though I need 3 lifetimes to do what's in my head.
Oh, understand.
You know, I had a quote that I came up with one time, and I said, for an artist, 1 lifetime is never enough.
And true.
Completely true.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I've used that quote a few times, and I fervently believe that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm often asked about creativity. And creativity, some very wise man said it was 1% inspiration. Should you be that lucky? The rest is doing what you say you're going to do. If you're going to paint today, do it, even if it's 5 minutes. The discipline of being creative comes by discipline. And I paint almost every day. All right, there was a couple of vacations I might have taken, but even when I was on vacation, I cut up a magazine and did I did designs with cut up magazines. So just do it because you say you're going to do it. Whether it's writing, music, singing, whatever. And I think everything has creativity. So
yeah, we agree, and you can't leave
more.
out the importance of perspiration.
Yeah.
it's not. It's 99 point. It's everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that nugget of gold when you complete something. Sometimes I look at my work and I say, I did that. Where was I? You did that? I mean, it's just, it happens because I say it's going to happen.
I think
And
that's an amazing thing that many artists share. I've had that experience myself. I'll look at a painting that I created several years ago, and I can't even believe I did it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I'm like a little child looking at it for the first time. I look at some of the detail in it, and I go, I just can't believe that you put that effort in. And for you, especially because you're such an accomplished artist, I can imagine you probably have many of those little kismets, if you will, those little explorations when you go back and look at it. And now I suspect you're having the opportunity to do that with your pottery.
Yeah. Well, for one thing, if I look back, I painted a 360-foot painting. Get away.
That is an accomplishment.
That's a huge accomplishment because I doubt there's anybody else in this world that's actually ever done that.
Mm-mm.
I think at the time it was probably the first woman.
Oh, sure.
Oh, yeah.
Without assistance.
Yeah.
There are a lot bigger pieces, but had assistance. No, I didn't have assistance.
Yeah, and those are all in the Louvre. You know,
say that again.
I said those giant paintings where they had 50 assistants cover a whole wall in the Louvre.
Yeah.
Yes,
Louvre.
I get it.
Yeah. You've had the opportunity shared with us a little bit earlier about the fact that you've been in numerous museums. And
Yes.
I'm curious, what's the one, or what was the most interesting thing you experienced on the opening night of your show?
Well, I don't know if you would call this interesting. It was more heartbreaking. But it's a little bit of a brag too. But I have to tell you, because it is the one thing that I do remember, and it wasn't a museum. It was my first Soho solo show.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so excited. It was 3 huge rooms of my work. I was so excited. And that night I went down to, because it was a ground floor gallery. And that night I went down to look at it through the window because I was after the opening. The openings are all blurs. I couldn't remember anything about openings, but I do remember going down and looking through the window, and I'm thinking, oh my God, my first solo show. I was a young woman.
Mm-hmm.
And there was someone that came and started taking notes. And I thought, oh, must be a reviewer.
Yeah.
But I didn't know he knew who I was, but he did. And I said to him, I put my work on, I do my words on canvases. I'm not a great speaker or writer. But I said to him, so what do you think? And he said, I think this is the best work in New York City today. And I thought, oh my God. And he said, and I said, are you going to write that? He said, no. And I said, why? He says, because you're wearing high heels.
Oh.
I know, it's so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. But I did a whole wonderful series of paintings called I Can't Be an Artist Because I Wear High Heels. So
good for you.
Yeah,
I love it.
yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, but that was the highlight of openings that I remember.
I can think of several art critics that probably would have done that or said that. That's really interesting.
So ridiculous.
That they were
gosh.
blatant in telling you that.
Yeah.
Well, he told me the truth. And it broke my heart. Not really. But I made something out of it, which was, I think, some of my best paintings. So remember also, this is 40 years ago. we have women artists come quite some way since then.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Definitely.
So,
Definitely. Well, I love the way that you took a negative and turned it into a focus and made it into something really positive. So bravo for you. That's wonderful.
if you get on Potenza Art, you'll see one of them.
I will definitely go in there.
I just called it High Heels.
Oh, okay.
So we should check it out.
Just for your own interest. Oh, yeah. What was that?
I said we should all check it out to see what it's like. So we'll put a link in show guest tab. You guys listening can check it out and see what's it about.
Yeah, what a real creative life looks like.
Yes, exactly. Don't let anyone discourage you with negativity.
Blessed. I'm sorry, say that again, Pete?
I said don't let anyone discourage you with their negativity. Turn it into something that works for you.
Well, I was thinking about that. I was thinking that it is normal when you see a piece of art, it is just totally normal for you to project.
Yeah.
I mean, that you're going to project your feelings and your experiences. That's the way it is. If you want to dive a little deeper, you might want to know what the artist meant. Uh-huh. So yes, I've got don't listen to negative people because they're just projecting their own selves onto your work. I get it. Thank you.
Right on.
And a great reminder.
I think it's very important to you have to, if you're going to explain your art, don't let other people explain your art. Everybody has their own interpretation of a painting that they're seeing or they're looking at. And,
of course.
And that is good in some respects, and it can be bad in other respects because nobody ever really truly knows what was going on inside that artist's head when they created it. And it's unfortunate that people don't take the time to actually get to know about the artist, read a biography on them, learn what they were really going through in their life, what may have made things work for them and things that maybe didn't work out so well. Well, artists have fascinating lives. You obviously have had one.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
yes, a blessed life.
Very much so. Isn't that true, though, that what he was just saying about projecting, and that's what you were saying as well, Potenza, about don't let it. I think that's
normal and natural.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, dive deeper, but it is normal to come up with your own interpretations.
Mm-hmm.
Look what they did to Georgia O'Keeffe. She had to endure so many interpretations of her work, and she kept saying, no, that's not what I meant. So
it happens.
It's part and parcel of being an artist.
Exactly.
Well, that's partially because people want to be kind of an authority. If you ask somebody's opinion, you're going to get it.
Yes, and so I should.
Yeah.
If I ask for their opinion.
Yeah, never ask for an opinion because you're going to get it.
That's good advice.
It's true. Well, the one thing that I would love to know, and I know that you can definitely talk about it, is what would you tell people that want to live a more creative life?
You touched on it a little bit earlier,
yeah.
But what would be one thing that you would want to impress upon them?
Like a takeaway from listening to this podcast, what would it be that they could do?
Well, I could say it in a more friendly way, but I'm not going to. Stop whining and do it. Just do it. Now, I know that sounds simplistic, but again, I'm repeating myself. Everyone I know who's saying, oh, I wish I could do this and I wish I could do that. And the whining about it is who they are. They have become the victim of not working. So even look, the University of YouTube. You can learn anything on YouTube.
For sure.
Yes.
You can get on YouTube and be inspired. And then you have to do the work. And will you do good work? Not really. Maybe not. Maybe yes. And maybe it's your path. And maybe the wonderful thing is discovering that it's not your path. And then you can seek elsewhere. That's about it.
Oh, that's
great advice.
Yeah. And I might add, never complain and never explain.
Yes, I love that. Oh, I should write that down.
Yeah, well, it's a mantra that I've tried to follow, and I'm not very good at it because we all have those days.
Yeah, of course.
You know, in your long career as a professional artist, and I'm suspecting, maybe not, there were times when you wanted to get away from art for a while. Has that ever been your case, Potenza?
Never.
Okay, good.
That's interesting.
I just can't think of a time when I would think that. But we don't know about tomorrow.
Well, you're so passionate about what you're doing. It certainly has come through in the way you've been expressing yourself. I can imagine maybe that never really was the case. I mean, sure, you went on holiday, but you were still cutting out paper and doing something, fidgeting with creativity.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. Exactly.
But you know what's so great? You go somewhere and you don't have your tools, and then you have to make them up. I find that creative. I find that exciting. I did some really great work not having my tools. So, well, I call it great work, but it was pretty good to be able to create out of nothing, which is what we all want to do. Mm-hmm. Every time I make something, I've created something out of nothing. I think that's magical.
I agree.
I know.
I love your enthusiasm because it reminds me of being a kid, and you haven't lost that that shine, and that's something that's so valuable, and admire that in anyone. Wonder. Yeah, it's a childhood wonder that you have not lost. So wonderful
Thank
for you. You're welcome. Okay, so now we're going to ask you a question that we ask all of our guests. And if you could sit on a park bench and chat with anyone from the past, who would it be?
Can I have a party?
Of course. It's your bench.
It's your bench. You can do what you like.
You can do what you want.
Well, there's so many people I would want. Eleanor Roosevelt,
Oh, yes.
Georgia O'Keeffe, Louise Nevelson. I would want all these Picasso, Matisse. I would want all these artists. I just don't want their advice. I just want their energy.
Oh,
so
that's nice.
Yes. Well,
that's
why would
really
I want...
nice. Yeah, you don't need their advice. And again, if you ask their opinion, you're going to get it. But the fact that they are all creatively loaded with energy, I'm sure they give off their persona must be pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I don't want to paint like Picasso. I don't want to paint like I don't want to sculpt like Louise Nevelson, brilliant as she is. I think she stole my ideas. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Really, I am. But their energy and their creative energy, I think that would be interesting.
I think so too.
I like your answer because you would definitely feel a lot from these people.
Eleanor Roosevelt, not being an artist, was incredibly creative, and she was all heart as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I was going to say she was a dear, dear soul.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. What a hero.
Very much so.
Well, I suppose if we were there, we'd ask them what they all had for breakfast.
Yeah. and who'd they like to sit on a park bench with, right?
Yes.
That would be a conversation.
Yeah, that'd be a real conversation with Picasso, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Well, I call myself a hermit. I should have said no one.
No.
Well, as much as I hate to do this has been incredible talking to you, Potenza, and we really appreciate having the opportunity to chat with you. I know the people that listen to this one because they're all creative people, and they're going to love what you've shared about being creative. This has been really a special episode, I think.
Very much so, and I agree with Rod.
Well, thank you so much. But think of the good that you do for artists. Think of how creative that is, and I am so appreciative of your discussions and your questions.
Yes, and we're hoping that with every show, with every different person that people listen to on the podcast, it's going to give them a takeaway of creativity and inspiration and motivate them to create whatever they create, whether it be music or visual arts or even writing. And that's the purpose of this podcast, to really motivate people to get out there and just do it, like you said.
No, listen to Potenza's
you're doing a good
recommendation.
job.
Listen to her number one recommendation.
Yeah, just do it.
Just do it.
I love it.
Yeah. Get off your duff and do it.
Get off your fanny.
Get off your whining. And do
That's
it.
true. So true.
You call it complaining. I think that's a much nicer way to say it. It is. So get off your complaining and do it because you can.
Mm-hmm. Agree with you. And now comes a time that I need to tell everyone, if you want to know more about Potenza, we will have links for her under the show guest tab on our website at thoughtrowpodcast.com, so everyone can learn more about her. And please connect with her on social media, because you will enjoy seeing all of her inspirational artworks. And check out her website. I'm definitely going to go see the high heels on her website that we talked about earlier. So excited.
Yeah, you're a fascinating artist, and thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
I'm really glad you tuned in today. We hope you enjoyed the thoughts and ideas we shared with you.
We post a new podcast every week, so remember to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts so you don't miss an episode. Also, if you're enjoying our podcast, both Rod and I would really appreciate you buying us a cup of coffee. Just go to thoughtrow.com, scroll down a bit, and you can find that link right on our website on the homepage.
It's really easy to do, by the way.
Yes, it is.
And all the money we receive goes to our production costs.
Yep.
And primarily because we want to keep our show commercial free, and we want to continue to bring you the best quality content with great guests.
That's right. Thank you for listening to Thought Row Podcast. So it's bye for now from my husband Rod and I, wishing everyone a great day.